The town of Fairlake, West Virginia prepares for its biggest event of the year, the Mountain Man Festival, a wild Halloween celebration where college students, bikers, and locals come together dressed as monsters, drinking and dancing until dawn. But beneath the masks, real monsters are waiting. Not the kind that hide under beds, but the kind that hunt for flesh. From the opening scene, the tone is brutal and relentless. The movie begins with two news reporters heading toward Fairlake to cover the event. They stop at an abandoned stretch of road in the forest, where a strange figure appears in the headlights. Before they can react, something fast and brutal attacks them. Blades slash, bones crack, and the screen fades to black. The Wrong Turn logo burns across the frame like blood splattering against metal. The mutant cannibals, Three Finger, Sawtooth, and One Eye, have returned. Born from generations of inbreeding and isolation in the Appalachian wilderness, they've lived off lost travelers for decades. But this time, they aren't alone. They're helping their leader, a cunning, sadistic man named Maynard Odets, played by Doug Bradley, the legendary Pinhead from Hellraiser. Arrival of the college group. Enter a group of college friends on their way to the festival. Cruz, the beautiful but headstrong girl who dreams of being a model. Gus, her boyfriend, loud and cocky but brave. Julian, the responsible one who tries to keep everyone safe. Billy, the funny, reckless one, always looking for trouble. Lita, the goth musician and the emotional center of the group. They're typical horror movie protagonists, young, loud, and unaware that every decision they make is a step closer to death. On the road to Fairlake, they almost run over a man standing in the middle of the road, Maynard Odets. He's dirty, disheveled, and grinning. When they swerve to avoid him, they crash into a ditch. Furious, Gus and Billy confront Maynard, who mocks them with twisted laughter. A fight breaks out, and soon the police arrive. Sheriff Angela Carter, a tough and no-nonsense law enforcer who arrests everyone, including Maynard. The group is taken to the Fairlake jail where they hope to be released after questioning. But Maynard, calm and smiling, begins to taunt them from his cell. "They're coming for me," he says softly, "and when they do, they'll come for you too." Sheriff Carter dismisses it as madness, but deep down, she feels something isn't right. As the night deepens, the festival rages outside. Fireworks, rock music, and drunken laughter echo through the streets. The sheriff tries to contact backup from nearby towns, but the phones are dead. The power flickers. Then the killings begin. Three Finger and his brothers sneak into the town under the cover of chaos. Their first victims are two policemen patrolling near the outskirts. The camera doesn't shy away. One is impaled through the jaw, the other decapitated in a single swing. The killers drag the bodies away, laughing their eerie, high-pitched giggles. Inside the jail, the group hears strange noises from outside, screams, metal scraping, and gunshots in the distance. Sheriff Carter realizes that Maynard's family has come for him. She locks down the station, handing out shotguns to the students. The tension grows as Maynard keeps talking, his calm voice echoing through the halls. "You can't stop them, Sheriff. They don't die. They don't rest. They don't forgive." Isolation and fear. One by one, communication lines go dead. The lights flicker out completely. The only light now comes from flashlights and the red glow of emergency generators. The group tries to escape, but every exit is blocked. A police van outside explodes, and the burning wreck illuminates three silhouettes in the distance. The cannibals, watching silently, holding their weapons like trophies. Cruz breaks down in tears. Billy, terrified but brave, insists on finding a way out. He sneaks outside to reach a nearby car, but as soon as he steps into the alley, a metal chain wraps around his neck. The killers drag him screaming into the dark, and the camera lingers just long enough for us to hear the crunch of bones. Back inside, the others realize he's gone. Panic sets in. Sheriff Carter tries to hold the group together, but Maynard's mocking never stops. You see, the law doesn't save you. The law dies first. A town of death. Meanwhile, the festival becomes a massacre. The killers move through the crowd unnoticed, their deformed faces mistaken for Halloween masks. They slaughter anyone who crosses their path. The music drowns out the screams, fireworks explode overhead, and blood runs down the cobblestone streets. The few survivors stumble toward the police station begging for help. The sheriff realizes the entire town is falling apart. The generator room is sabotaged, and the jail doors no longer lock. As the killers close in, the group's fear turns to desperation. Cruz and Julian argue about leaving Maynard behind, but the sheriff insists they must hold him as evidence. She doesn't realize that Maynard wants to stay there. It's part of his plan. The trap tightens. When one of the students finally decides to shoot Maynard, the sheriff stops him. She says, "We're not murderers." But that moment of mercy becomes a fatal mistake. The killers outside respond to Maynard's whistle, a shrill, piercing sound that echoes through the night. Moments later, the station is attacked. The doors are ripped open with chains and crowbars. Three Finger bursts in first, grinning wildly, wielding a rusty axe. Chaos explodes inside the narrow hallways, gunfire, screaming, and flashing lights. The sheriff kills one of the attackers, but it's too late. Julian is dragged through a broken window. Cruz is cornered and brutally killed. Blood splatters the walls as Maynard hums an old country tune from his cell, smiling in satisfaction. As part one ends, the sheriff and Lita barricade themselves in the armory, hearing the killers tear through the station. Maynard's laughter echoes behind them, calm, patient, and terrifying. "You can lock the doors, Sheriff, but you can't lock out the darkness." The camera pans up to the flickering light overhead, the sound of chains clinking and distant screams fading into silence before cutting to black.
The silence that follows the chaos in the Fairlake police station is deafening. The camera lingers on the smoke-filled hallways, shattered glass, and bodies of the fallen. The once bustling town of Fairlake has become a nightmare wasteland, its streets painted red under the flickering orange of broken streetlights. The cheerful echo of the Mountain Man Festival has turned into a hellish soundscape of distant screams, sirens, and the faint laughter of mutants echoing through the fog. Inside the jail, Sheriff Angela Carter grips her shotgun, her uniform torn and bloodstained. Her breathing is heavy, her eyes wide, not just from fear, but from anger. Across the cell block, Maynard Odette sits in his cell, smiling calmly as if he's watching a show he's seen before. His confidence unnerves her. Lita, the last remaining college student, clings to the wall, trembling. She's lost her friends. Her voice quivers when she whispers, "They're killing everyone." Maynard looks up slowly, tilting his head. "Everyone deserves to die for their sins, child. The world's just catching up." The sheriff aims her gun at him. "You shut your mouth," she shouts, but he only laughs, a dry, rasping sound that echoes through the halls. Outside, the killers aren't just attacking, they're toying with the survivors. The three cannibals, Three Finger, Sawtooth, and One Eye, move with animal precision. They set traps, drag away bodies, and display them as trophies around the police station. Severed heads are impaled on poles. A police cruiser burns in the distance, illuminating their grotesque silhouettes as they move like shadows between the flames. The sheriff's desperate plan. Sheriff Carter knows backup isn't coming. The radio is silent, the power grid is dead, and every vehicle is destroyed. She realizes the only way to survive is to hold out until dawn, or kill the attackers herself. She loads her shotgun and hands a pistol to Lita. "We stay quiet, we stay alive." Her voice is calm but trembling. The strain of the long night is visible in her eyes. They move cautiously through the blood-soaked corridors, checking each room for survivors. They find Deputy Biggs, still alive but bleeding heavily. His arm is mangled and his eyes are wide with shock. "They're everywhere," he gasps. "You can't stop them, Sheriff. They don't die." Before Carter can answer, a crossbow bolt pierces his chest, slamming him against the wall. Lita screams. Sheriff Carter fires blindly into the dark, the sound echoing down the corridor. But the killers are gone, leaving only that familiar, shrill laugh. Carter drags Lita into the evidence room, barricading the door. She sets up a small flashlight and looks through the weapons racks. "If they want a war," she mutters, "they'll get one." She begins setting traps, shotguns wired to doors, tripwires across hallways, and fuel from the generator room rigged to ignite. The old sheriff has become a soldier. Meanwhile, Maynard sits in his cell humming a tune. His words cut through the silence. "You think you can fight nature, Sheriff? You think you can fight blood?" Carter ignores him, but his words linger. He's not just a leader, he's a believer. He sees these killers as a family, his children, chosen to purge the world of weakness. The killers come again, faster and more vicious than before. The power flickers on and off as Carter's traps go off one by one. Explosions, gunfire, and screams fill the building. She manages to blow up part of the east wing in a blast of fire and debris, but Maynard only laughs when he hears the explosion. "You can't kill what's already dead," he whispers. "He'll come back home." Lita, terrified but fueled by survival, helps the sheriff set up another defense in the main hall. She's trembling but determined. "We can't stay here," she pleads. "We need to run." But Carter shakes her head. "Run where? This town is gone." They hear something moving through the vents, scraping metal, soft laughter. Suddenly, a body falls from above, crashing onto the floor. It's one of the missing officers, his face mutilated beyond recognition. The killers are inside again. A brutal fight erupts. Lita fires her pistol wildly, hitting one of the attackers in the shoulder. The mutant doesn't stop. Sheriff Carter grabs a fire axe and swings, burying it in his neck. Blood splatters across the walls as she pulls Lita to safety. For a moment they believe it's over, until Maynard starts clapping slowly from his cell. "My boys are proud of you, Sheriff. They love a good challenge." Carter snaps. She storms toward the cell, gun raised, shouting, "You sent them here! You're gonna die for this!" But before she can pull the trigger, the lights cut out completely. The darkness is absolute. Only the sound of heavy breathing, footsteps, and Maynard's whisper remain. "Now you'll see what it means to live without light." A town in flames. Outside, the town burns. Fairlake is nothing but wreckage, overturned cars, fires, and bodies scattered across the streets. The once happy festival is a graveyard. The killers drag the dead into piles, laughing as they play with their victims' clothes like children with toys. Inside, Carter and Lita make a final attempt to escape. They crawl through the station's maintenance tunnels, the flickering light of a single match guiding them. Above them, muffled footsteps and laughter echo like thunder. As they reach the end of the tunnel, a ladder leads to the surface, but before they can climb, Maynard's voice echoes through the vent. "You can't leave me behind, Sheriff. You brought me home." The words are chilling. Suddenly, a hand bursts through the grate, grabbing Lita's ankle. It's Three Finger. Carter fires upward, blasting the creature's wrist apart. They scramble out into the night, emerging into the burning remains of Fairlake. The final confrontation. The dawn is approaching. The air is thick with smoke. Carter and Lita make their way toward the sheriff's truck, but Maynard is already there, standing calmly beside it. He's free. His hands are bloody, and the keys dangle from his fingers. "You can't stop the bloodline," he says. "It's in the roots. It's in the hills. It's in you." Carter raises her gun, shouting for him to drop the keys. He smiles, tosses them into the dirt, and slowly spreads his arms. "Go ahead. Be the law one last time." Before she can fire, Three Finger charges out of the woods, screaming. Lita screams as Carter fires again and again, but the creature keeps coming. Carter empties the shotgun into him, finally dropping him to the ground. But as she turns back, Maynard is gone. The sheriff and Lita drive off, the rising sun cutting through the fog. For a moment, it seems like they've escaped. Lita begins to cry, whispering, "It's over." But Carter's eyes are fixed on the rearview mirror. Behind them, on the hill, Maynard stands, watching, smiling, his hands raised as if blessing them goodbye. Aftermath.
and legacy. The movie closes with a montage of the burned-out town, the destroyed police station, and the empty roads of Fairlake. A newscaster's voice is heard faintly. Authorities are still investigating the disappearance of multiple officers and civilians in Fairlake. The town's Mountain Man Festival has been permanently canceled. The screen fades to black and the faint sound of laughter echoes, the unmistakable cackle of Three Finger. Then the title card appears. Wrong Turn. Bloodlines. The family never dies. Facts, reception, and awards. Box office and release. Released in 2012 directly to video, Wrong Turn 5 Bloodlines had a modest performance but gained a cult following among horror fans. Director, Declan O'Brien, who also directed Wrong Turn 3 and 4. Critical reception. The movie received mixed to negative reviews for its plot, but praise for its practical gore effects and relentless pacing. Fans appreciated the return of Doug Bradley as the intelligent and sadistic Maynard. Filming. Shot entirely in Bulgaria, doubling for West Virginia. Many of the sets were reused from Wrong Turn 4. Fun fact, Doug Bradley improvised many of Maynard's lines, giving the character a chilling religious undertone that wasn't in the original script. Awards. While it didn't win major awards, Wrong Turn 5 was nominated for Best Slasher Sequel at the Fangoria Chainsaw Awards for its makeup and prosthetic design. Conclusion. Wrong Turn 5 Bloodlines serves as both a prequel and a brutal reminder of what made the series infamous: relentless violence, claustrophobic terror, and a sense of hopeless isolation. It's not a film for the faint-hearted, but for horror fans who crave raw survival horror without mercy, it delivers exactly what it promises. The movie's strength lies not in its story, but in its atmosphere, a relentless descent into madness, fear, and blood. It leaves audiences shaken, questioning whether humanity's real monsters are inbred killers in the woods or the darkness that grows inside anyone who enjoys the hunt.